Good evening, friends. Welcome to the yet another session of XLRI leadership series. Before we begin this session, I would request you all to either switch off your mobiles or put them on silent mode. Continuing with the tradition of having esteemed leaders from the different backgrounds sharing their experiences, today we have with us Mr. Ashit Ranjan, an Assistant Vice President of Human Resources at Tecnova Global, to talk more about the business consulting. Mr. Ashit has also previously led an entrepreneurial venture in the area of business, HR and consulting. He has been an AVP of Human Resource Head at EXL and has led several consulting assignments, one of them being with Bhutan Power Corporation. Without further ado, I would now like to request Ipshita to hand over a small token of appreciation to Mr. Ashit Ranjan. Thank you. I am privileged to have the chance to introduce Mr. Ashit Ranjan. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Ashit Ranjan. Check.
Can all of you hear me? Yes. Good evening. Sorry to be calling you so late in but I'm not to be blamed for that. Your colleagues here insisted that it has to be done in the evening, so I said, okay, not a problem. Thank you for inviting me again. This is, I think, my third visit to the campus. And the first one to this newly painted building. You can still smell the paint. So I was talking to Akash. I said, what do you want me to talk about? He said, talk something about leadership, talk something about Technova. And so I thought, okay, maybe I'll keep it very open and try and share some experiences. And probably those experiences will be, enlightening enough for you to pick up some, experiences that I've had both in the corporate consulting world, which will help you make decisions better. So, do you want me to talk about my experiences first and then about Technova, or Technova first and then? Okay. So I'm going to start with a video. Akash is going to bring up here. So carefully look at this. The video is all about fear, and probably that's where we're going to start with. Okay.
Long Range is probably one of the scariest places to dive. It's pretty high, it's one of the highest stops. And I'm not sure whether it's the actual height or whether it's just the panorama, because when you're going on a wave, you go over all these 5-story buildings, and you really feel like you're on top of the world. It's one of the scariest stops, for sure.
If we weren't scared of the sport and of diving, we would maybe have mistakes during the dive. You need the fear to keep on your toes.
Okay, 5 minutes, 10 minutes before I come to platform, and think too much about that, and close my eyes and fly. Okay? But when I come to platform, when I wake up to dive, I never feel scared. taking that first step just to get up there is really hard. And then you kind of get a little bit of a calm. And then the last 30 seconds before you do your dive, the intensity kind of builds up again. And then that's when you have to just sort of block out the fear and just focus on the dive.
This year has been very crazy for injuries, lots of people getting hurt.
After the crash in Greece, it's definitely a little bit difficult to dive, but I mean, I'm not too worried about it.
I try to keep out of my mind the Hassan, and I'm just concentrate. I'm thinking about nothing, just concentrate on my each day.
Me, I had my biggest accident in Italy, and I try to forget about that. If you focus too much on these accidents, you will never go up there and do it again.
I find myself always back in a place lounge, like, I'm not feeling that diving now, but then I think, okay, you have to be confident, you have to go, and then I push myself off the platform and I go, and it's like pretty much like to get tougher and too harder to focus better.
By the time you're about to do the dive and you know you're about to go, you're in a zone where you're just so focused that you're concentrating only on the dive and not really thinking about the height. And I think that's the only way that you can do it.
My way of overcoming the fear is just imagining the feeling after the dive. You have to think positively. You have to imagine that everything's going to go well. When you finally go past that fear, it's an amazing feeling. It's that feeling that causes me to keep diving.
Anybody who's practiced cliff diving? 10-meter board? 1, 2, 3, 10 meters boards? 20 meters?
15 meters.
15 meters? Excellent. So you understand what it means to, stand in front of 15 meters. The number seems very little, but 15 meters is a very high, almost as high as two-story building. Multiplied to a 5-story building or a 6-story building, it's even worse. Why am I talking about fear? Why am I talking about fear? I think when you talk about leadership, you talk about stuff around how careers are shaped, how people develop into being what they are, there's an element that is always missed out, and that's fear. And fear is a very integral part of our lives. School, fear drove a lot of things. Fear of parents, rebuke or punishment drove us to do many things. It was not always the positive, push that our parents were in. If you do this, then, and that fear of them compelled us to do what we did. For some of you, IITs was done partly because of the fear that what happens if I fail? And hence the push to perform and excel. And so that there is always a fear at the back of my mind or everybody's mind to say, I need to use this fear towards positivity. Can I not use this if it is okay? I really hate this. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good. So fear really drives a lot of behaviors that we display on a day-to-day basis.
following rules, discipline on the road is also partly because of fear of what might happen if a traffic cop catches you. And if I look back upon myself and where I am today, fear drove a lot of things in me as well. There were certain things that were set up, so we completed school, I went to Delhi University to do my graduation, and it was all fun until that time. And I remember we finished our third year exams, and we had a summer vacation before the third year results were announced. And I was sitting with a friend and he said, "What next?" And that was a question that we had never asked ourselves. What next after this? Are you going to do your civil services, do your management, do your any other professional courses, find a job for yourself? The fear stuck then. Shit, something is going wrong here. And that fear drove us to do an MBA. And whatever was easiest available at that particular point in time, we went and did our MBA there. The next came the campus. Which company to do, or where to go, what's the best path. So whatever came our way, we kind of, picked up. There was a decision in my career at that particular point in time of specializing in a particular area. And the reason I chose HR as my domain and my expertise was again out of fear. And the fear was of two things. I hated travel. I did not like travel. And I thought if I take marketing, they'll give me a scooter or a bicycle, and they will make me ride the heat of Delhi and sell toothpaste. And that's something that I did not want to do. So the fear drove me to choose something, beyond marketing. The next option was finance, and the numbers were just too difficult. Numbers were just too difficult to even think about doing finance. I met Mayank. Mayank said he is going and attending finance seminars in good field. For me, it was two fears. And those two fears actually drove me to do HR. I said, comfortable job, we'll have an office, we'll sit there, do some bullshit, and pass my time. Within 35 days of my joining the company, I used to travel 20 days a month. And in the heat of Kanpur, anybody from Kanpur here? Nobody from Kanpur here. 100% here? Kanpur heat. Man, in 1994, 93, Kanpur heat was known for, it was an industrial town. Getting to 48 degrees was nothing. I mean, every second day was 48 degrees in July kind of. So both my fears, I had to live with my fears at that particular point in time. There's another experience that I want to share with you. When I got placed in the campus, my first job interview was with a company called Wimco. Anybody knows Wimco? What do they make? Matchboxes, the home lights, and the ship, and the horse head, and various other brands of matches. Wimco stands for Western India Match Company. It used to be a Swedish company that was sold to Indian owners, and then has now been acquired by ITC very recently. It is the largest mechanized match manufacturing facility in Asia, even today. 5 factories spread all across the country, and they have a mechanized process of making matches. once I got that job, at that time, a very good salary of 5,000 rupees a month. I thought that I had arrived on the scene. I knew what it took to prove myself in the corporate world. I was given an AC first class ticket to go to their factory in Bareilly. Anybody from Bareilly? People are hello. To a place called Clutterbugganj. Ganj. Clutterbugganj. Very fancy name. And in 1994, getting a first class AC ticket was, most of you travel by air now, but at that time it was a kind of a thing that you would have arrived. I took the train, went to Bareilly. I was greeted at the station by a guy holding a placard right in the main porch of the Bareilly station saying, "Welcome, Ashit Ranjan." I said, "This is it." What better can you get? I mean, this is it. It was an air-conditioned ambassador car. I had never traveled in an air-conditioned car, forget about ambassador. Not in an air-conditioned car. Air-conditioned car, went to the factory, went to a very, very plush guest house where I was put up. Choicest food that was laid out and said, "Sir, aap aaram karo, kal se kaam." Good. Relaxed the whole day. Next morning, I was supposed to report to the factory at 7 o'clock in the morning. A gentleman called Mr. Saxena, I'm not going to name his full name. He was the regional head of HR and personnel in that factory. And I went to him. The funny thing about this man was that he used to drink 3 liters of water every hour. And drinking 3 liters of water is not a problem, but he had to equally dump it out as well. So there was this every hourly cycle of dump and intake that used to happen, and that was strict. So I remember walking in at 7 o'clock to his office, and he in the process of taking his first intake of 3 liters of water. So you had to wait up 3 liters of water, you can't drink in a gulp. It takes time. It takes like 7-8 minutes, and then watching him take water after water after water. What the hell this guy is up to, man? But it's amazing how you look up to people, and then how it creates an aura. Strange fellow, but it made me very, very uncomfortable at that particular point in time. And sitting there in front of him, no hi, hello, greetings have been exchanged, he's just drinking. That aura, many times, creates a certain sense of fear in you. And it happened to me as well. When you see somebody, when you see a big boss, a big guy sitting across the table, he's going to take my happiness. I mean, every minute, this feeling was coming in, oh my God. Every glass that he was having, it was my God. I mean, he was a wonderful man, as later I came to know. But at that particular point in time, the fear was overriding my head. After he finished his ritual, he said to me, "Aap aa gaye?" I've been sitting there for 10 minutes. Aa gaye kya? Anyway, so he said, "I have decided your induction. आप पहले सबसे मिलके आइए, and then you will start on your induction from today onwards." I said, "Great, no problems." So I was introduced to all the managers in the factory, different people, some union guys, and all that kind of people. Shook hands. I didn't remember anybody again. Came back to him, and this was 2 hours later. And 2 hours later, he was again on that same ritual. He said, he looked up on a piece of paper. He said, "Aapka maine security ke saath attachment kiya hai. Next 1 month you're going to spend at security." No problem. I thought this is great attachment. I would probably manage the security staff and all that stuff. So the peon went and the security office used to be next to the gate. So I used to blush, air-cooled office, that was there. And I still remember, Viren Thapa used to be, this is 21 years back, but Viren Thapa used to be the security supervisor. An old Gorkha regiment guy who had retired and become a supervisor in that factory. The minute I entered his room, and he had a very uncanny habit of always smiling. You know, Viren used to be a guy who would smile in the worst of adversity. You know, we had factory shutdowns and he would keep smiling. I mean, he had this amazing ability to do that. He said, "Oh, Saab, aap aa gaye." He was getting up to offer me a seat. Aap idhar aa jao, Saab. So he kind of, you know, took my arm around me and said, "Please on this side." Walked with him. Took me out of his office. Went to the gate, picked up a stool from around there and said, "Saab, idhar baitho." You know, the shock. And across me, you know, the gate was a huge gate, 20 feet wide gate. There was another security officer. I was looking at him, he was looking at me. I couldn't even exchange greetings with him because, you know, all my bubbles that had been inflated till that time got deflated in under a second. मैंने कहा इधर? हाँ साहब आप इधर बैठोगे अभी 1 महीने का अटैचमेंट है ना? I said 1 month. Was too much that I am supposed to be doing this security guy job, sitting here at the gate. I was looking up at the sun, I was looking at this stool that was there. I said, shit. I mean, there was no option. I had to do it. And what does shock create? Again, a sense of fear. What do I do? I was all elated. I had got a campus placement. I had got the best job on offer, and here I was sitting on a stool, you know, as a security guard. I actually called up my dad that evening that I made the biggest mistake of my life, and the only consolation my dad offered it: wait for 15 days and see how it matters. 21 years have elapsed since that incident. And I can tell you that those 50 days of attachment with the security team was my biggest learning that I've ever gathered in my entire career. And it was also the first time that I realized that being an HR person was just not about HR within inverted commas. It was all about knowing your business. Everything in the factory happened through that gate. Raw materials came in, finished goods went out. You learned about union activity. You learned about, and all that happened at the gate. You learned about how, you know, hazardous industries work, what are customs, excise, taxations, logistics, because you had to sign those bills, as you would call it, and a lot of people would have dealt with those kind of stuff at the gate. And I think what it made me learn at that particular point in time was this perspective about having a very holistic view about not only your function as such, but about the overall business. And that has held me in good stead all the way till now. Across all the assignments that I have done, there's not been one where there's not been a contribution towards the business and the strategy around that business, or to take it forward, or to grow that business, or transform businesses beyond the HR role that you perform. And that's very important for all of you as well, particularly from a consulting perspective, because I guess you guys are interested in learning about consulting and moving to a consulting assignments as you go along in your careers. That one perspective of knowing your business to the last nuts and bolts is a critical aspect of your success beyond the functional expertise that you bring. And that's what consulting is all about. Consulting is not about a functional, while functional knowledge is equally important. And I'm not denying it at any point, or not trying to run down functional expertise as something that you should let go. But that functional expertise should be linked to an overall business. How many people from the power sector here? So you know what a rabbit and a squirrel is? Yes. Conductors. As an HR person, I can look up to a transmission tower and tell you what a rabbit is. What a rabbit is. Is it a rabbit conductor or a squirrel conductor or a top conductor? That is the level of depth that you need. When I first moved to Bhutan in early 2002, I had moved to a sector which is the power sector. I had no inkling about what power sector meant. I didn't even know the voltage levels for it. How 11 kilovolt was transformed into 440, and then it came to 220 in their houses. How do you do it? Apart from that, how do you acquire that? How do you acquire that knowledge? How do you acquire this knowledge? How do I know about a rabbit and a squirrel conductor? Or why should I know? Should I really know about it? Does it matter? Does it matter what a 66 by 132 by 66 kV substation is? What is a step up and a step down transformer? What are the voltage levels? Why is it important for me? I'm an HR guy. I'm supposed to transform people. Why should I know this? Anybody? Why should I know this?
Because the people you are dealing with are dealing with these things day in and day out. So they may face some problems, and their problems with them.
Correct. Because as an HR guy, my problem, their problem is my problem. I cannot have an outsider. And please remember, this is not about HR. This is not about HR. Remember, as you go along in your career, the importance of knowing the rabbit and the squirrels is going to be critical for your success as you move along. You will have to go down to that level of understanding the nuts and bolts of businesses. People who've come from ITES backgrounds will understand what peak loads and off-peak hours are in the call center, BPO businesses. How do you ascertain what kind of problems you face during peak loads? How manning is important. It's only when you go and sit and attend to calls, as a normal agent would do. A lot of times, the problem happens when you go with an outsider perspective saying, hey, I know it, without having done it. Please remember that you will not know it if you've not done it. And for people who are making that choice of moving into the consulting world, you will have to do it repeatedly to acquire that knowledge. With every new client that you work with, in the similar areas, you will have to do it over and over again. And that's critical for your success. I also talked about, Mr. Saxena and the aura around him. He was a very, very quiet person, but he had this aura, of being somebody very, very important in the factory. That's another thing that you will face. That's another thing that you will face, particularly in the consulting world. You may be a consultant, but you will be talking to a $5 billion company CEO. And your problem starts there. That company is flown in his private jet, has this big limousine in which he has driven to your offices. He's sitting across his desk in a plush hotel. And I said, oh my God. And the aura that the person brings around him creates this sense of fear. Overcoming that sense of fear is again a very critical aspect of business consulting environment. Because he's looking to you for solutions. He wants to have this debate with you. How do you ask him questions? Can you address him on a one-to-one basis? Will you be able to interact with him as you would interact with anybody else, maybe at your own peer level? Can you build and develop that relationship that is required for you to get that depth of knowledge or information that you're seeking from that person? Is again another critical aspect. Because if you don't, what you will do is again fall into the trap of, I think I have understood him. I think I know what is the problem. And that is something that you have to be conscious. A lot of times, I mean, and this is something very Indian, not to, say anything against Indians and such, but, I mean, this is a very Indian trait. Whenever we find somebody in our professional world who is way senior to us, or somebody who brings a certain stature, we address him saying, sir. And you see what happens. You typically have school background. Sir, I am at your service, sir. And it's something that is within us. I mean, we've been brought up in that manner. Our teachers have created this environment, and I blame a lot of them for it. I don't know if you guys went through schools where punishment actually meant caning, but we did. We did, and we've created that. So if you didn't address somebody as good morning, sir, but up. So we were brought up in that kind of. Letting go of that is a huge challenge for a lot of us. Whether you consciously admit it or you don't admit it, it's a huge problem for us to let go of that business. And let me tell you this, from our own context, the minute you've said sir, you have decreased your ability to seek information from that individual by almost half. Because what he says you will have to accept. Don't fall into that. Don't. Even if you address somebody as sir, make sure that you are able to dissociate yourself from that sir business and seek information that it's critical. It's critical to build that relationship, at least, and more so in an environment. What else? One of the other habits, and discussing it with some of your colleagues, one of the other habits that we've developed is the habit of not reading. And it has come to a stage where our inability to constantly keep on reading things has led to a situation that we typically go into situations where we come out to be unprepared. We do not read reports. I know what is going to be there in the next few pages. I know what's going to be the conclusion. I know what the introduction says. So hence I will not read. Please develop the habit of looking at every letter and every word of a document, of a note, of an email, and think before you respond, or imbibe the points that have been put across in that note, so that you are better prepared at all times. At all times. Increasingly, we come across people who walk into meetings despite being sent 10 mails and a report, were completely unprepared. Were completely unprepared about knowing what that document contains, what that email says, what is the context of that email, or what is implied in that email. People don't read. You read it, you don't have time, you want to skip through it, same thing repeated again, and hence it affects you. And that's something, another thing which increasingly for people, particularly those who are looking at the consulting arena, is going to be critical. How do you read it? How do you interpret it? And constantly, and you have to work on this habit of reading, constantly reports, inputs, information that is coming. So as I said, I started by telling you guys that, fear pushes you into doing a lot of things. And you have to constantly overcome the barriers that those fears create in you. As the guy in the video said, to say focus on the job at hand and deliver the results. Not saying that, you've always been successful. I remember I used to work for the IT industry. I was an HR manager in an IT company. And one of my jobs was to train software engineers on cross-cultural behaviors. So we used to send all these bunch of software engineers to the US, to various other geographies. And we used to do what we used to call cross-cultural training. They would tell them, dress this way, use deodorant, comb your hair, don't put too much oil, traffic is on the left-hand side, not on the right-hand side, and all kind of crap. And I was so good at it. I kept on doing this because we were hiring people in bulk. We used to hire 100 people a month. And all of them used to go through this cross-cultural training program. I almost had bulked up that whole document and could run this program, a day-long program, very easily. Till in 1999, June, July, the company asked me to go to the US. They said, okay, you are going to the US, you're going to set up our offices in the Valley, and this other guy is going to accompany you. So here was Ashit Ranjan, who landed in San Francisco. We checked into a hotel. Next morning, I realized that I did not have my toothbrush. I had somehow in the bag packing forgotten my toothbrush. And across the street was this thing called 7-Eleven. Small grocery store, and I would just walk across and pick up a toothbrush and bring it in. So I got out, and there was this quite a major road that you had to cross. So I waited. As the manual had said to me, press the button so that it turns green. Press the button, waited, and it said walk. So I started walking. Midway through the street, it started flashing, don't walk. I said, oh my God, Do I go back? Do I stand here? Or do I cross the door? And that moment of not knowing what to do, of facing this huge dilemma that I had not been taught about, or had not been, something that I had not experienced, made me run back. I said, the easiest thing is to go back to where you started from. And I waited. You will not believe I waited actually for 20 minutes for somebody else to do it. And so what did this guy do? He pressed the button. Halfway inside don't walk. He still crossed the road. That's what you're supposed to do. So learning by observing is another critical aspect of what you will have to do. It might make you wait for 20 minutes. But do it. Observe what others are doing. That power of observation is again another critical aspect of how you will be able to build key insights. And it's important. The power of observation is very, very important. If you don't know, ask and seek help from others. There should be no hesitation in doing that. There should be no boundaries that are created for you to seek that. And if you can't, ask and observe. For you, some of you, if you have some free time, and I guess you guys are too crammed up these days with your course, but if you ever have a chance, and this is an experiment that you should do about observation, is go to a railway station on any day. Go at any time, morning, afternoon, evening. If you've got 30 minutes free, go to a railway station, find a seat for yourself, and see what's happening around you. I promise you will come back with at least 30 stories. Generally, when we go to these places, we don't spend time observing. We are more bothered about the luggage that we are carrying, more bothered about the train coming on time, or conversing with the people that we are going to the station with. But take this time out and do it. You go to a shopping mall for that example. Just find a place and see the people, and you will come back with 30 stories. Just this sheer observation of body language, of hushed conversations, of voices in your ears will give you deep insight as to what's happening there. And having that, I won't really call it the third sense, having that your faculties all open at all times is another aspect of consulting that you will be there. See the things beyond what the information is laid out to you, and develop that power of observation. I'm going to kind of wind it up here. I started giving you the insight about how fear, and you need to overcome that fear to be able to find a path for yourself. Also about developing relationships that break boundaries of hierarchies is another critical aspect of what you should do. Develop your faculties so that you are observant and move beyond the laid out information that you have on the table, and be prepared for the worst. Be ready to sit on this stool for 20-30 days at the factory gate, because it is going to help you. Let me tell you this. So that's purely from my side on what I wanted to tell you about choices that you have laid out in front of you, or will have available to you at the end of your or at the start of your placement season, of what you want to do. But in all assignments, please remember that you have to have a much more open and a broader horizon about the business, and take some of these key inputs in terms of how, if particularly moving into the consulting world, of how you can develop yourself and perform it. Moving on to Technova. How many of you know Technova except for Mayank? Mayank knows Technova very well. My colleague, ex-colleague, is just a great surprise to see him here. Wonderful friend. But any of you know Technova? No? You know? No? Nobody knows Technova. Okay. Man, you should come and give this presentation. You've given this many times. 30-year-old company, a small company, a niche consulting company. We have primarily been in the business and we focus on only one part of consulting work, which is to help foreign companies enter the Indian market. And that's why the tagline says we deliver India advantage. Only do that. Over 900 companies, close to about 1,000 companies that we've set up in 30 years in India, from the big to the small to the medium-sized companies, across different segments, from consumer to industrial to retail, all kinds of defense, nuclear power, many companies that and we do end-to-end services. So quite unlike many other consulting companies, we do not produce humongous reports, but typically physically help with implementable solutions and actually do it ourselves. That's been the key differentiator. So while it could be a pre-entry assessment of the market in terms of finding out what the potential for the product and services are in the Indian market, to going down to setting up a greenfield or a brownfield, or doing an acquisition or a merger or a joint venture, or in cases finding a distribution partner here in India, or doing distribution rollouts, import distribution rollouts, whatever. That's been the kind of spread of business that we've been doing, and that's we've been doing for 50 years. Just a quick rundown on Technova. So starting right at where we, when the client plans to enter market research, India visit, which is a more a validation visit of what our findings are, our strategy, business plan, moves into either a greenfield or a merger acquisition, goes into site selection, if it is a greenfield, land purchase, government approval, statutory compliances, hiring the top management team, employment of the team, search for the body management, all that stuff is something we do across our projects and things. Focused on India entry services, virtualization, post-entry, mostly advisory. We also have a global market research team which does market research or mostly CATI-based kind of research for other markets, and sometimes even global sourcing for people who are looking to source from India or companies, Indian companies looking to source from other geographies. We have in those situations as well. People won't go into much of this. Wide range of industry verticals, from automotive companies like Volkswagen, Harley Davidson, Polaris, many of these companies that we set up in India, Ground Zero Industrial Goods, forms bulk of our customers and clients. Almost 50% of our clients come from the industrial segment. Consumer products, again a very wide range. Rank here was part of the consumer team. Tell you from candy confectionery going all the way to hospitality is the range, including FMCG, small appliances, various products across the segment is very products. We have another division for healthcare, pharma, and life sciences. Retail, and you'll say why retail? We don't do multi-brand retail because of the policy framework, but we've done single brand retail outlet, particularly focused on the luxury segment. So brands like Eco, baby care brand, I don't know if you know about that, which is the luxury shoe company, is something in the segment. Defense and aerospace, something that we've set up a new vertical some time back now. In the past, we worked with companies like Nuchem, which is a nuclear fuel supplier, company like that. Renewable energy, we've done a lot of work with companies like Short and others which are in the renewable energy space, and some in the infrastructure, primarily around the construction goods manufacturers and suppliers, than into real infrastructure projects and such. Not very clear, but just to do some whole classification of right from tire manufacturing to packaging to confectionery, knives and cutlery, everything else is a part of that. A partial list of our clients: Karan, L'Oreal, one of our earliest clients, Tecnova, Sam Miller, Gorilla, the master company, Kohler, both the Kohler has, we work with two divisions of Kohler, Bath and Kitchen, as you know, mostly known this most visible brand. Kohler also has a very power division. They do manufacture gensets in the country. Miele is again a kitchen company, Harley Davidson. Sennheiser, the audio equipment company, Moët Hennessy, bigger company. Jordan, which is a small appliances company. Perfetti, candy manufacturer, again one of our early clients. So Dexo, the incentives company. Kia is manufacturer of air conditioning, which kind of largest. Rocket is the world's largest starch, corn starch manufacturer. Volkswagen, ISS, Royal Cane, the pet foods company, Saint Gobain, the glass company, Avery, the stationery company. So Jost is a crane manufacturer. A little bit about the history. Set up in '84. Unfortunately, very recently, our founder, chairman, Mr. Raj, who founded this company, passed away early September after a very brief illness. He was one of the driving forces with the organization and drove this organization to where it is today. He has served on the board of various companies like L'Oreal, Perfetti, Biomedical, SIG, ISS, and guiding these organizations to successes. Some of the new leadership team that has been put into place after Mr. Raj, GSK, former Vice President Asia Africa, which led, is based out of the UK. He's the chairman, director of the company. Our new managing director is now handling the role of the Italian by origin. He was the former managing director of Perfetti and Benetton, and chairman of the Italian Chamber of Commerce. Frank Elway is the director. He's the former German ambassador in India, a career diplomat, and sits on the boards of various companies, including Lufthansa. And he's on our board as well. He used to be the executive director at Stan Eber. Also used to head the HR practice at Stan Eber many years before he retired from the company. Credentials from a Technova perspective, the success consistent, outstanding results. Our experience has been for about 30 years of just doing this and knowing experience of what fails and what succeeds. Actually, over 900 clients. So over 900 clients we've got across different countries, Japan, Europe, the Americas. So this is more about Tecnova. And I had another video to show you of our hiring practices, and I would have probably, I thought it was important, and this is typically how we hire. Okay, so I thought probably.
Mr. Chairman, 28 factories a week, that's a lot of factories to sell. And you only have 7 salesmen?
Certainly.
That means they got to sell 13 factories apiece.
You're right. 13 factories of these.
Yes, sir.
What are you talking about? 7 times 13 is not 28.
Yes, it is.
7 times 4 is 28.
Mr. Chairman, 7 times 13 is 28.
7 times 4 is 28. Did you ever go to school, stupid?
Yes, sir. And I come out the same way.
Come here. You claim that 7 goes into 28 13 times?
That's right.
Go ahead, prove it. Go ahead. There's the boss. Well, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to prove it.
Go ahead.
Now, you got 7 salesmen.
That's right.
Okay, there's a 7.
Where is it?
Right there.
All right.
Now, you got 28 factories a week you got to sell.
That's right.
Now, what is 5? There's your 28 factories.
How many do you claim 7 goes into 28 13 times?
That's right.
Show me.
7 to 2. 7 to 1 to 2.
Certainly not.
So I got to take the 2 from there and put it down here.
Put it down there.
Yeah, I'm going to use that for one. That's a cute little 2.
Yeah.
Now, 7 to 8.
Once.
I'm going to carry the 7 from here and put it on the 8. 7 from 8.
One.
I'm moving it forward. I didn't use that little 2.
What do you do?
I got to use that 2 now. I'm going to take it from there and I put it right there. Now, 7 to 21. That's correct. 7 to 28, 13.
Oh, no. The other time. What kind of figures are these?
Just a minute. That's all right.
We'll multiply this. Go ahead.
Multiply?
Put down with me.
Okay, 13.
That's right. That's 7 salesmen. Put that down.
7 sales.
Now, you claim that 7 times 13 amounts to what?
28.
Prove that.
7 times 3.
21.
7 times 1.
7.
7 and 1.
8. How do you figure, boy? No, you can't.
That's right.
No, nothing of that kind. We add this up.
Huh?
Put down 13 7 times.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now wait a minute. You claim that all that added up amounts to what? 28. Then guys, you've got a job.
Thank you.
3. Oh, wait. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21.
22, 23, 24, 25.
That's the differentiator if you want to get into Tecnova. You have to bring that crankiness on the table, I guess, and the aptitude to be different than many others is what we will look for when we are hiring from this campus. All to you guys, any questions, anything, I'll be most happy to answer. Yeah.
Sir, I mean, since you have such a long span of experience, there are many times in your corporate career when you reach such a trough from where it is difficult to bounce back to the level where you were. It happens to a lot of people through whatever you read in the media. Has there been any phase in your life, and if it has been, how well have you been able to bounce back to the same level? And what advice would you give to people, I mean, to all of us who would be in such kind of high-stress situations over the years, over the coming years?
You know, it happens a lot. And I think it's not that it's not true. What you really need to understand and clearly differentiate is, when you say stuck at a level, does it mean level in terms of designation, in terms of compensation, in terms of work profile? And that is very important. And a lot of times, in my experience, your assumption of getting stuck is determined not by yourself, but what your peers around you are. A lot of times. When you look at and try and dissociate yourself from that and really break it down into in terms of saying, am I stuck at a level? Am I stuck at a compensation? or am I stuck up at work? You will realize, try and find what gives you the maximum satisfaction. Because it's very important for you to break that down. If you cannot, you will be stuck forever. Let me tell you this. If you combine these three things together, you will always be stuck. You will not be able to find a solution. Break it up. Break it up into saying, what is it that makes me happy? Will a higher designation make me happy? Will a higher quality of work make me happy? Or a better compensation will make me happy? And then seek those opportunities accordingly. If you are trying to combine all these three, the minute you move to the next job or the next assignment or a new avenue, you will be faced with the same problem there. And that is very important. For me, I chose work over everything else. Because at the end of the day, if I feel satisfied that I'm going back having done something productive, there is an input that I've given which is going to benefit an organization, then I'm happy with it. But if I say, oh shit, I'm still a VP, then I'm stuck. Somebody else will give me a senior VP, but I'll be doing crappy job again. So it doesn't make, break it down. So it's very, very important for you to take a seat back. And as much as I said about observing others, it's also about observing yourself. And really find your true meaning in terms of saying, what makes me happy? If I had that extra 3 lakh rupees in compensation, I could have done this much. If I had a higher title, people will probably respect me more, and that will make me happy. I mean, there are various things, but break it down. And then seek the opportunity and you will be able to find a path.
Sir, let's say someone is in business development for 3-4 years. After that, he wants to get into consulting. How easy or difficult it is? Question 1. And question 2, what are the skill sets that he would have to develop? Like having served in business development for 3-4 years, and then if he aims for consulting, what are the skill sets that he has to work upon?
There's 2 parts. Anybody can, please remember, anybody can get into consulting. There's no boundaries for consulting. Though you will find that, if consulting for you means big fours, then you will have boundaries created saying you need to come with this kind of work. But there are hundreds of consulting opportunities that are available outside that environment as well. And you need to find a path where there is an utilization of your skill. The second part that you asked about is what skills. There are no special skills in consulting. It's about 1, your functional knowledge, and 2, your business knowledge. And I'll give you a small trick. Around the campus, do you have any dhaba that is open 24 in the night? Yes. What is it called? Vishuddha. If you can build up a business plan for that guy by sitting and observing his business for 2 days, you are fit for consulting. He's a smart guy. He's got a captive base of clientele, which is increasing every year in numbers. If you ask this guy, a typical sales and business development guy will say, well, you've achieved your scale, now you need to expand. Open another region. He doesn't want to. He's got a captive base where every year there is a 20% increase in intake of students in this campus. Why does he need to go outside? Why does he need to make that capital investment of going outside? Having that understanding is important from a business consultant. You look at this guy, how he places the jar of candies on his table. The jar of candies are supplied by a local trader here in Jamshedpur town. He says, "Ye rakho." This guy will observe for 2 days whether anybody picks out candies from there or not. The 3rd day he will quickly shift it back. Fourth day when the supplier comes, इसको ले आया. Fifth day you will not see the candy box. Smart. Look at that guy and you will be able to understand how he sells. And that's, business consulting is all about that power of observation to say, am I looking beyond the obvious? Am I digging deep enough to find information? So it doesn't stop you. There are no special skills. It's as I said to you, it's about the power of observation. It's about knowing the intricacies of business, and it's going beyond in terms of observing. And that's what is important. So it doesn't stop you. Please do not create this psyche in your mind. I am from a technology background. How will I be able to get into consulting? Or from a sales and development, business development background, how will I be able to? There are no boundaries. But what is important is, are you able to display the traits of having a larger canvas to play on? That is important. Something what this guy did. And also not about that you also have the right solutions, but that something different. Okay?
How to balance the, you were saying, when you call the client service, you won't get the information. But at the same time, when you are a little bit aggressive also, you won't get that. How to balance the between because
So again, as I said, it is not either or. Remember the situation, it's not either or. I just gave an example of the perspective that don't allow the aura of the guy to intimidate you at any point in time. That is very, very important for you. Do not let the aura of the other gentleman or person or lady sitting across you to intimidate you in very important. It's a part of communication skill. You know, if you allow yourself to be intimidated in that situation, you will always be, hampered by, that you will not have that power to seek information from that person. You will not be able to ask the right question. You will not be able to push your point. And that is very important. So whether you say sir or not, don't say sir is irrelevant. But you have to be at a mental level, not intimidated by the aura. So to remove that fear of aura around that person. Okay. What is going to happen? He's not going to get up and slap you. He's not going to go and they got a gun in the shoe. It's not going to happen. You're not going to lose your job. If none of these are going to happen, what prevents you from asking questions? Trust me. Trust me. And this is example, from within Technova as well. A lot of times we make assumptions based on experience. And say, oh, hey, we need to do talent upgradation in the company. We need to get the best guys. Some of the best guys who have worked in Technova have come from absolutely very, very diverse backgrounds. The guy who has got us the maximum business from the US, geography. You cannot hold a two-line English conversation with him. He speaks with a heavily accented Bihari tone. And you know what it means. Single-handedly has delivered more business results out of the American geography than anybody else. Only because of one. Only one the other. Completely uninhibited guy. I don't know what it's called. Somebody who has no inhibitions. He knows his follies. He knows I can't speak English. He knows that he's got an accent. He's not proud of it, but he's not intimidated by it. You tell him to walk up anybody and he will go anywhere and ask anybody anything. And surprisingly, please remember in Technova's business, a decision to enter the Indian market is not taken at a junior level in the organization. A decision to enter the market is taken by the CEO, the board members, senior vice presidents, senior directors, at that level of people. And these guys need to converse on the telephone with these guys and get an attention from them for 30 seconds or 1 minute to be able to sell your proposition. So it's a very, very tough call. I'm saying in that environment, he's not talking to an export manager or an executive of the company. He's talking to the topmost guy and still delivering results. So, leave your elections. It's all within you. It's not somebody in the other person. It's only then you.
You said about Tecnova, it's helping other companies to establish in India. In another way, whether the company is also helping the companies to exit from the India?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that question. You was talking about Indian companies going to foreign markets?
Any foreign companies that want to exit from India, just like
Close out the business.
close out the business.
Unfortunately, we have not had that case. We haven't had a situation where a client has gone back from Indian market.
My question is whether the company is targeting
No, we don't. We actually, one of the areas that we do offer consulting is in case foreign companies are in the Indian market but are not performing to the levels that are expected for them to perform, then we help them with improving their performance in the Indian market. That's a different, that's more performance improvement kind of consulting that we do, but not helping them exit the Indian market.
Sir, in your opinion, what is the biggest differentiator between a niche consulting firm like Technova and one of the standard consulting firms like maybe the Big Four?
Hands-on work, implementing. Implementation is the key differentiator. None of the big, while in terms of knowledge, you cannot match the knowledge. This humongous knowledge of thousands of clients that we came on board. But it remains as knowledge on paper. What we do is actually physically doing it ourselves. I take pride because, take an example of Harley Davidson. Every single person that works in Harley Davidson was hired through my offices. Every single person. Except the CEO. Every other person was hired from right from the head of engineering to production to technical manager to their marketing manager to their sales guys to their engineers who are on the shop floor. Every building was hired through our offices. We set up their entire factory. We helped them design the layout of their dealership stores. We identified their dealers. Out of 2,800 applications, the first 7 dealerships for Harley Davidson was decided by at our offices. We shortlisted the first 1,000, then the next 500, going down to interviewing 200 dealers in India to identify 7 dealers who would be working for them. So it's a completely different ballgame. This is nothing against the Big Four, but if you're gone to a Big Four would have set up the process of releasing a tender, do this, interview this. They would set the processes for you or the steps to reach that goal, but they would not do it themselves. That's the key differentiator. Implementable solutions and implementation skills is the only differentiator that you will find. Okay.
Sir, do we also develop business propositions and then offer the clients, or if only the clients come to you and then you start?
99.99% of Technova's clients have been sourced by Technova. Not a single client has walked through our doors and said, hey, please come help me in the Indian market. You are the India entry specialist. It doesn't happen. build up a business case even before we approach them. We have a team which is known as the business development team, which only does research on companies and builds up an India proposition for them. And then when you have that, because you only have that minute of attention. If and when you are able to reach that particular person who is a right decision maker, you have that minute to be able to put your point across, and you need to be thoroughly prepared. As I said, absolutely thoroughly prepared about what you're saying from your market information about potential of their products in India and
Last.
there is no functional specialization as such, so we are more sectoral focused. So you may be a part of the consumer team, but our consumer industrial verticals are very broad-based. So you may be looking at a packaging company. Now packaging has various connotations. It could be paper packaging, it could be foil packaging, it could be pharma packaging, it could be rubber closures, it could be various forms of packaging that could be. It could be dyes and chemicals that are used in printing in the packaging industry. So there could be various segments that are available for you, from chemicals to paper, rubber, foil, and aluminium in just one segment. So when you say industrial, it's a very, very broad spectrum. Same with, say, consumer. A consumer specialist will also have the, it's not about one thing. It could be FMCG, it could be small appliances, it could be white good, all kinds of stuff that could be available to a candy manufacturer for them. So it's not.
What are the differences between Indian companies' market expansion or market entry with a foreign company's market entry? What are the fundamental difference that led Technova to concentrate only on that particular market?
I don't think it was led by any thought. So it's a combination of two factors. When we started off as a company that was helping Indian companies source technology from foreign markets. That's how we started off. In '84, when the market was still a very closed market, we started off by helping the Birlas and the Tatas and the ITCs and the Cleavers to acquire technology from outside. So we would go out to foreign markets, identify processes, machineries, and other stuff, and bring it. That's what we did. And when 1991 happened, by that time you had already built a huge network of connects outside that you said, hey, it's the right opportunity for us. So it was incidental, but also something that had been kind of logical to do it. So we didn't do it through this thing. It's not that we not have Indian companies move out abroad as well, but we don't have bases in other countries. Hence, if you don't have a base and an understanding of the system processes, we work to our strengths. We don't have a base in Africa to help a company go and attract the market there. We have to use somebody there with them. And that creates a problem because we are not able to implement the system. And that's something that we don't do. So we play to our strengths.
This is a non-business question.
Sure.
What are your hobbies and how are you able to accommodate your hobbies in your day-to-day activities?
I have a lot of fun. Ones that I pursue, I like driving a lot. I do rallies and car rallies and stuff. I also drive a lot. When were you last? My next goal is that we're driving from Delhi to Bangkok August of next year. That's a big plan. 50 people who are traveling with us. The 2020 goal is to drive from Europe. So that's something that I do on a hobby basis. I do read a lot. I love reading. And that's something that I do a lot. Reading you don't require it. And I read everything from magazines to newspaper. An average of about 2 hours spent every morning on newspaper. I cannot stay without actually reading 2 newspapers at least for an hour each, end to end, page to page. Right from the speaking tree to the editorial to every other news that is there. I love doing that. And reading books, so while you're in the car, flying in the evening, when you're going to bed, so I do read a lot. I used to have hobbies around painting, but I don't do that now. These 2 hobbies, yes, I do. You take time out. There's some, fundamentals that I've created about. So there are certain times, there is in a year which is only for me. And this is an agreement that I have with my wife and my children, that they are not a part of this world. I'm sure everybody's thinking, how the hell did he manage this? It takes a lot of effort. So I'll give you an example. I don't spend my birthday with my family. Never. And I started it when I was 39. And I've followed it rigorously. So you guys can guess my age. So I've followed it rigorously for the last 7 years. Every birthday I take 5 days off. One day before my birthday, so there's no pre-birthday wishes, and there's no belated birthday wishes. So I completely take my time. Oh, that's my time, and I am free to do whatever I want. And I've done the weirdest of things. So, sitting on top of a mountain with just a pony and a porter for 5 days, with nothing. So I do all kinds of things. Or go on a trip or a rally or something like that. So you have to find that time. And I take another 5 days, so I have a 10-day period in a year. It's not difficult to ask for that. Rest of the time is available to everybody, including my family. So that's something that I do, but it's all individual choice. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
It was a great evening and indeed a great session delivered by Mr. Ashit Ranjan. I really thank you on behalf of the GMP XLRI to take a long travel and a pain from to reach to Jamshedpur as we discussed. And I really, we as a batch really learned a lot from your such an insightful speech. Particular things like how to inculcate the habit of reading and how it's going to help. Especially there is no limit to learn. Like you can learn from a security guard. So these things I believe that is going to help us, empower us to grow in our career. And I would like to invite Romy to deliver a small token of appreciation. Here we come to the end of the session.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.